UFC Fight Night Fight Island 5, Moraes versus Sandhagen takes place this weekend, and I am so grateful for this card because it's an amazing one, stacked top to bottom. I'm going to start with the early prelims, end with the main event, giving my prediction and breakdown for every single fight on the card, starting with the early prelim opener of Bruno Silva versus Ulambekov. Ulambekov, member of Team Khabib, absolutely dangerous guy. I believe he's currently the #1 ranked flyweight in Asia, the #1 ranked flyweight in Russia, the #1 ranked flyweight in anything other than the UFC, apparently, because he's an absolute savage. He's only lost to Zalal, who, as we know, got robbed against Howley and Paver in his UFC debut. He didn't look too good in his debut, I'll give him that, but Zalal was the last guy to beat Ulambekov, and that was even by majority decision as well, so it was a razor-close fight. Ulambekov is a very dangerous man, and Bruno Silva has just not impressed me since joining the UFC whatsoever. He's had a few losses. I've not liked the way he's looked in those losses either, even though he hasn't lost to terrible guys, David Dvorak, Khalid Taha. I feel as though Ulambekov would beat David Dvorak right now. I like Ulambekov. He's a very heavy favourite. And Bruno Silva, in my opinion, just doesn't have the quick finishing ability in the first round to beat Ulambekov, because you're not going to go skill for skill with him over all 3 rounds. I feel like I'm going to go with Ulambekov here. He's known about his debut for a while. He's been supposed to debut for a very long time, so I'm looking forward to him fighting. I think he'll get the job done. You know what? I reckon he'll get it done by guillotine choke in the first or second round, once wearing down Bruno Silva a little bit first. Moving on, up the card, we're going with Ulambekov by first or second round guillotine choke. Moving on, Tracy Cortez versus Stephanie Egger. Interesting. Women's MMA. Where's my coin? We're going to flip it and we're going to decide who wins. I already know who wins, by the way, so that went so badly. That went as worse as it possibly could have gone. Tracy Cortez versus Stephanie Egger. The coin's gone. I don't know where the coin is, but it went somewhere. And it could be heads or tails. And I didn't assign anyone to heads or tails. What am I flipping coins for? I'm just wasting coins around my room. Tracy Cortez versus Stephanie Egger. We're going to go with Tracy Cortez getting the job done here. She's beat better competition. She's got a better record. She beat good opponents, to be honest with you. Tracy Cortez is not a girl that's been sort of babied throughout her entire career, which by the looks of her, you would assume that the UFC would kind of want to baby her, but she beat Vanessa Mello, who's fought some fighters, or I know she's had a bunch of losses as well, but you know, Tracy Cortez, she has good wins on her resume. Her last few wins, 6-0, 3-0, 3-1, had a bit of an amateur career as well, way more experience, plus Stephanie Egger taking this one on short notice. I think she'll eventually get grounded out and lose the second and third round to a unanimous decision win for Tracy Cortez. It's going to be boring, but it's going to be boring, but it's going to be a win for Tracy Cortez. Chikadze versus Omar Moraes. For the life of me, I don't know why this is on the early prelims, but it's on the early prelims. Chikadze versus Omar Moraes. Chikadze. I think this is the tail of the tape right here. Omar Moraes, I have underestimated him, and he has overperformed every single time, because when Omar Moraes first burst onto the scene not too long ago, about a year or two ago, he hadn't really fought too many good competition, but recently in his career he's fought some good competition and he's looked good doing it. Gabriel Benitez is no slouch, and he went out there and got the job done, unanimous decision win. Like, he's looked good against good opponents and he's done well in his recent outings. Chikadze, on the other hand, is the complete opposite, in my opinion, of Omar Moraes. Chikadze, I overestimate him a tiny bit, and he looks shit every time. He looks shit every time against guys that are getting funneled into him to pad his record even more. I'm going to go through it again because I don't feel like I shit on Chikadze's record enough. I threatened his life yesterday because of Holly Holm's performance against, because of Irene Aldana's performance against Holly Holm. I threatened Chikadze's life for no reason, but I should just tell you where my disdain for this man, where the levels of disdain for this man in my brain are at right now. They're high levels of disdain. I don't like his record. 0-1, 2-31, 0-0, 0-1, 0-13, 1-10. They're all cans. They're all cans. He's the can man. Anybody can get it, unless they have a winning record, in which case he's going to make it look really close. He'll lose to Omar Moraes. Moraes will win this fight by unanimous decision and get the job done. Moving on up the card, Ali Al-Qaisi versus Tony Kelley. Somehow above Chikadze versus Omar Moraes on the card. Funny stuff from the UFC. This is why they put Condit on the prelims when he could have been co-main event. Funny stuff. UFC playing a big old practical joke as they usually do. Very funny of you, UFC. Makes zero sense, but keep it going. Ali Al-Qaisi versus Tony Kelley. I'm going to go with Tony Kelley here. Tony Kelley's actually a pretty good fighter. I like him. Ali Al-Qaisi's let me down. Let me down a couple times. Not even I've predicted him and he's lost a fight and that's how he let me down. He's just, I've expected more from him and he never seems to really put it all together the way that Tony Kelley, even if in his losses, looked good against Kai Kamaka. That fight, a lot of people say that could have went to Tony Kelley. I thought it could have gone to Kai Kamaka, but still, Tony Kelley showed in a short notice put together fight with Kai Kamaka that he can still go in that third round and showed great talent there. And also Tony Kelley, you might not know this about him, went to a split decision with Kevin Aguilar. This is a bantamweight. Tony Kelley, bantamweight. Big guy for the division as well, which ultimately is why I'm going to pick him to win. I just think he'll be too big, too rangy, muscle Ali Al-Qaisi around in the grappling and also beat him on the feet as well. But Tony Kelley, split decision loss to Kevin Aguilar, and this was when Kevin Aguilar was on the regional scene, tearing through everyone. I'm pretty sure he was completely undefeated, or maybe he had one loss at the time, and he was like something ridiculous and won in his record. And Tony Kelley went to a split decision loss, up 2 weight classes. I like him at bantamweight. He's a big guy there. I think he'll beat Ali Al-Qaisi, and I'll say he'll win by a third round finish. Moving on up the card, Impa Kasanganay versus Joaquin Buckley. Oh my god, this card is very good. Impa Kasanganay versus Joaquin Buckley. I'm going to go with Impa Kasanganay here. It's hard to pick against him because Joaquin Buckley, and this is the how much does your management team love you test. Joaquin Buckley got KO'd twice in one night 2 months ago. This is not, I said this about Gerald Meerschaert when he was fighting Hamzat Chimaev. He got KO'd 2 recently. He shouldn't be in there. Said this about Cerrone. He just got KO'd. Shouldn't be in there with McGregor, regardless if he isn't cutting the weight to 155 and he's going up to 170. You don't come back that quickly after a KO loss. And Buckley got KO'd twice in one night by Kevin Holland. He's very good. He's very scrappy. This is actually a good stylistic matchup for Joaquin Buckley because I feel like the attributes you need to beat Joaquin Buckley are your range, are your speed, keep things at range, a lot of front kicks, a lot of straight shots, lots of jabs, throw him off as he comes forward trying to swing recklessly. I think it's a good matchup because he's on Buckley's level in terms of height, so I think they're going to scrap back and forth. I think the first round will go to Joaquin Buckley, then as the rounds go on, Impa Kasanganay is going to take over, and I think you'll get the finish in the third round, or win the second and third round dominantly enough to earn himself a unanimous decision win. I could even see there being a 10-8 in the third. I just don't like the Joaquin Buckley's return so soon. I think he's going to get over-aggressive. He's going to get cracked by Impa Kasanganay with a good counter. Then he's going to start backpedaling a bit, you know? And Impa Kasanganay is one of these guys recently who, again, as I said about Omar Morales, before they made the step up, we didn't really know. And Impa Kasanganay stepped up on the Contender Series, beat a good opponent, stepped up against Maki Pitolo, beat a great opponent there. Maki Pitolo's no slouch. He's not the best guy in the world, but Impa Kasanganay won that fight. Competitive fight, but still got the job done. Joaquin Buckley, and I'll say this again, go back and watch the Kevin Holland fight. If you don't know what I mean by him getting KO'd twice in one night, it's because Kevin Holland basically failed a walk-off KO on Joaquin Buckley because he was still somewhat conscious. Then he gets back up, rounds continues, then in round 3 he gets KO'd again, walk-off KO. I just don't understand the logic. What is going on? Impa Kasanganay is going to win by unanimous decision or third round finish. Second and third round gets the job done. Buckley's going to be gun-shy, more gun-shy than usual because he got KO'd about 8 weeks ago? Dumb shit. Moving on. Chris Dalcaus versus Rodrigo Nascimento Ferreira. I'm going to go with Rodrigo Nascimento Ferreira. I like Chris Dalcaus. He proved me wrong against Parker Porter when we really didn't know who he was. He was just an 8-3 guy taking on Parker Porter, who was an experienced guy. I picked Parker Porter to win, silly enough. But Chris Dalcaus, even in his win against Parker Porter, was very good. It's Parker Porter. I know he's the greatest of all time. Still Parker Porter, though. I'm not going to be picking Chris Dalcaus here. I like Rodrigo Nascimento Ferreira. He's a bigger guy. He's more athletic. He's stronger as well than Chris Dalcaus. And I think he's just going to present a whole different set of challenges that Dalcaus's previous opponents have not presented him before. Because Nascimento Ferreira at heavyweight, you've got the threat of the takedown. There's not a lot of heavyweights at the bottom feeder level that have the takedown ability that can just smush you on the ground. And Rodrigo Nascimento Ferreira just makes it look easy. In his last win against Dontel Mays, just toyed with him, and then when he wanted it, and got the finish done. Like, it was just very clinical, and I like that. I like that Rodrigo Nascimento's not one of these heavyweights that just goes out there swinging them like Justin Tafa or Ben Sassoli, because those ones you see fade quite a bit. But Rodrigo and Nascimento Ferreira are the guys who put things together, throw a lot of feints, don't overextend on their shots. Same thing with Tanner Boser as well. Recently at heavyweight, we see a more patient approach, and he seems to be doing quite well during it. Chris Dalchaus is going to lose. I think he'll get taken down and submitted after some shots land from Rodrigo Nascimento Ferreira. Dalchaus has been submitted before in his career. He's been KO'd twice as well. So you know what I'm going to go with? First or second round, Nascimento Ferreira eventually cracks him, wobbles him a little bit, then goes for the takedown and gets a rear naked choke finish in the first or second round. Moving on, Tom Breeze versus KB Bouller. This is a dangerous one. This is a dangerous one. It's hard to disagree with the odds so far. But Tom Breeze is a bit of a favourite. And he shits himself when he gets in the cage. That's the only problem I have with him. Okay? He's actually good. Tom Breeze is very good. And he's beat good opponents in his career. But it seems like recently, he has anxiety issues. He doesn't really show up too well. He's lost some fights here and there. He's coming off a TKO loss to Brendan Allen, which I predicted, by the way, first round TKO for Brendan Allen. It's kind of obvious. Not a lot of people knew, but Brendan Allen was a savage and was on the come up, and it was a kind of a silly match made for Tom Breeze to come back against. Why, of all people you could possibly come back against, would you pick Brendan Allen? Out of anyone. The guy who called out Chimaev and Chimaev said nothing back. Why would you call out that guy? Okay? It just didn't make much sense for a comeback fight, but KB Bouller's fought cans. I don't know about this, man. And I've been trying to think about it, and I think I'm going to go with Tom Breeze. But the odds that he shits his pants and gets KO'd in the first are annoyingly high, and I don't like that. I'm going to go with Tom Breeze getting the win. I'm not going to let the odds sway me, because I think if this was even odds, or if KB Bouller was just a slight underdog, I would still pick Tom Breeze. And I think the only reason I'm giving KB Bouller a bit of a look in is because he's a bit of an underdog here, and it could be a good win if he gets it done. I just haven't seen enough from him. He's fought complete cans, no amateur career whatsoever. Fought a guy 1-3, 0-1, 5-8, 3-1 decision. Look at the difference here when I look at his record, and I've watched some of his fights as well. Look at the difference here that I'm paying attention to. 1-3, KO in the first round. 0-1, KO in the first round. 5-8, KO in the first round. Step up in competition. 3-1, positive record. First guy with a positive record he's ever fought. Decision. You know? 4-8. First round finish. 13-12. First round finish. 16-3. First round finish. Jump up in competition. 11-5. Unanimous decision. It seems like there's a level of a fighter that's just good at fighting that stops himself from getting finished by KB Bouller. He has got power. He is dangerous, and he's going to be confident here because he's undefeated. I am going to go with Tom Breeze getting a job done. You know what? I could actually see this ending up on the ground, and I think I'm going to go with Tom Breeze getting a submission off of his back against KB Bouller. Because I've seen KB Bouller, he goes into guard a little bit reckless. He's an undefeated guy. I think he'll enter the guard of Tom Breeze on the ground, whether it be a takedown, or Tom Breeze falls off balance, or gets hit with a good shot. And then KB Bouller's not going to have too good ground control, and he'll get submitted by Tom Breeze. Tom Breeze will get the job done off of his back with an armbar or a triangle or sweep and end up on top and get a submission there. I'll go with Tom Breeze getting it done by first or second round submission, but the odds are juicy. So you make your decision. I'm not going to be swayed by the odds, though. I still think that Tom Breeze is going to get the job done. Moving on, up the card to the main card. Oh my God, it's a blessing in disguise. It's a Fight Island miracle. It's a Fight Island miracle. Youssef Zalal was on the main card. He was opening up the prelims 2 weeks ago on this card. Now he's on the main card. I'm so happy for Youssef Zalal. He's taking on a savage, though, in Ilia Topuria, who's very good. Very, very good. Beat some good guys. Dominated some good guys as well. Has a bunch of quick finishes in his career. 23 years of age. These are two young guns going at it. This is not an easy fight for Youssef Zalal whatsoever. However, I would wait until the end of the week to bet on Youssef Zalal, because I think there's going to be a lot of money coming in on Ilia Topuria, because they've put him as a bit of an underdog so far, and I think those odds are going to start to close up a little bit as the fight goes on. I think they're going to end with Ilia Topuria being barely an underdog. He's a little bit juicy now. I say wait if you're going to put some money on Zalal. Don't put it on him while he's a big favourite. I think Youssef Zalal's going to win, but Ilia Topuria's beating good guys. I think Youssef Zalal is a little bit too quick on the feet in the first round to get finished quickly here. Not to mention Ilia Topuria is taking this fight on short notice. You know what actually I would say? If this was on a full camp, I probably would pick Ilia Topuria. I said that about Kyle Dalkaus versus Brendan Allen as well, remember? I said if Kyle Dalkaus has a full camp, he beats Brendan Allen. Like, there are these savages on the regional scene that are just keep beating guys and not getting signed by the UFC, so they just keep beating them. And they're getting better and better and better. I think on short notice, he's going to be reckless in the first round. And Zalal isn't the traditional style. Zalal moves a lot. He throws a lot of crazy stuff himself. He's very fast for the division. He's got good cardio. And he's had a full camp. And he's got all of the momentum compared to Ilia Topuria, who hasn't fought once in 2020. And you look at that compared to Youssef Zalal, who's been one of the most active guys during the quarantine season. I mean, how many times he fought in 2020 so far? 3 times overall. About to go for 4. If he wins this one, I'm sure he wants to turn around in December. Go for 5. I'm going to go with Youssef Zalal getting it done. Not stationary enough for me to see an Ilia Topuria first round KO crazy finish like he usually gets. I'm going to go with Youssef Zalal getting a job done, but it's dangerous. These are all quite dangerous nowadays. I'm going to go with Youssef Zalal. So far, I'm agreeing with the odds on a lot of these. Tom Aspinall versus Alan Baudot. Alan Baudot is a dangerous guy again, stepping on short notice. Short notice affects things, though. It does. Tom Aspinall, in my opinion, has a huge advantage here. Alan Baudot has not fought good competition his entire career. He's fought some cans. He has fought some good competition, don't get me wrong. He's fought some good competition, and I'm not going to say that Tom Aspinall's fought the best competition either. But Aspinall's got experience in the fight game. The boxing game, you know, he used to train with Tyson Fury. He had a bit of an amateur experience as well. And then you've got this guy, Alan Baudot, steps into the regional scenes as a pro, beats a bunch of guys, loses to Dalcha Bouller by KO. He actually rocked Dalcha Bouller in that fight, if you want to go back and watch it. It's on YouTube, I believe. Dalcha Bouller got rocked by a big shot behind the ear. Bouller threw back just a big, massive shot, ended up KOing Baudot out cold, which was crazy to watch. But one thing I do want to mention as well. 0-2, 6-11, 0-0, 4-3, 15-9, 15-22. I said this about the other guy on the card, KB Bouller. Look at the difference that I'm watching here. When I watch these fights, 0-0 destroys him. 15-22 destroys him. 15-9 positive record takes him to the 5th round. You know? Then you come back down. 4-3 beats him. 0-0 beats him. 6-11 beats him. 6-1 positive record and gets KO'd in the first round. Moving on, 0-2, KO in the first round. Moving on, 9-4, Todd Stout, big jump up. For him, it's a big jump up compared to the competition he's already faced. Todd Stout is no savage. But still, gets a disqualification win in the 3rd round. You want to know what happened? He got choked out in the 3rd round by Todd Stout. Choked out. They had to overturn it to a win for Baudot because Todd Stout tested positive for cannabis, which is a joke. Which is an absolute joke. If anything, it's a hindrance to be under the effects of it in the cage. But you know what? They gave it to Alan Baudot. I'm not going to pick him against a guy in Tom Aspinall. He also plays the feinty on the feet kind of game, which I don't like. If I'm going to pick someone to beat Tom Aspinall, it's going to be like a Rodrigo Nascimento for here. A guy who's never in, and then he'll shoot for a takedown, and he can implement the grappling side of things and maybe show some holes in Aspinall's game. You're going to stand there and play the feinty, touch, striking match with Tom Aspinall in the 1st round. You're going to get KO'd stiff. I'll go with Tom Aspinall with a 1st round finish. Moving on, up the card. Marcus Perez versus Dricus du Plessis. I'm going to go with Dricus du Plessis, getting the job done against Marcus Perez. Is he an underdog? He might not be, because of how bad Marcus Perez always looks. Let me check. I assume he should be an underdog. No, he's a favourite. There you go. Well, he is a favourite. Yeah, I'm going to be going with Dricus du Plessis. I thought he would have been an underdog. He's a favourite. Fair play. I thought the short notice might come into play a little bit here, but apparently not. They really do believe in him, and I believe in him as well, to be fair to you. He's an absolute savage. He's fought great competition. 26 years of age. You got Marcus Perez leaving his prime, and yeah, he can paint his face as the Joker at the weigh-ins, but then you lose to Wellington Turman and basically do nothing for 3 rounds. It's unfortunate to watch. Marcus Perez has KO'd a bunch of cans in his career. Not really fought anyone that's good competition. Every time he has, he's lost. I'm going to be going with Dricus du Plessis. I'll go with him getting the job done. Yeah. Not many of these guys on a regional scene have fought in 2020, though, which could be a big deal in some of these short-notice replacements. But I am going to go with him getting this job done. He's young enough to where I trust that he's in shape all the time. If I see a 32-year-old take a fight on short notice, I have no idea what they've been doing. If I see a 26-year-old on the come-up, destroying everyone, has a potential future, I trust a short notice bout. I'm going to go with Dricus du Plessis. Plus, this isn't even that short notice. Let's be real. He's had a bit of a notice for this one. So I think he'll get it done by first round finish against Marcus Perez. I just don't see Marcus Perez winning this one. He always lets me down. Always looks quite bad. Moving on up the card. Ben Rothwell versus Marcin Tybura. First underdog pick of the card is Marcin Tybura for me. I'm going to pick him against Ben Rothwell. Ben Rothwell is a 2-1 favourite. Ugh. What? I'm going to go with Marcin Tybura here. I like Ben Rothwell, but he's lost a lot of fights. And I think Marcin Tybura gets a lot of slack, but he had a morbidly obese period of his life, you know? I think he's going to be big in there. I think he has the right game plan to beat Ben Rothwell. A lot of guys against Ben Rothwell try to just move backwards and like jab him away, and he'll just walk forwards like a zombie and eventually get to you. Don't like that, but with Marcin Tybura, he has a pressure-heavy style, and I think if he goes head-to-head with Ben Rothwell, pushes him up against the cage, he can really get a good job done here in the first or second round. I don't think he'll get the finish. I think he'll get a unanimous decision win, controlling the clinch in a massively boring contest in the feature fight of the main card. It's going to be unfortunate. I don't see Rothwell finishing him, though. That's the only thing. And if you don't see him finishing him, Tybura has a very pressure and volume-heavy style against the cage. I could see him pushing Ben Rothwell up there and just trying to drain him over the 3 rounds for a unanimous decision upset win. Tybura gets it done. Plus, he's looked in better and better shape since his recent losses. He seems to have tapered down that morbidly obese belly fat that he's had recently. So, I like Marcin Tybura. He's in better shape. I think he'll get the job done against Rothwell. He's got momentum behind him now as well. If he was coming off a KO loss, maybe I'd think otherwise. But I think 2-1 favourite for Ben Rothwell is weird. It should be a 50-50, and I think Tybura's got a better style to get it done. Moving on, Edson Barboza versus Makwan Amirkhani. It feels good to have a co-main event that you care about, because last weekend's was fucking Yorgan De Castro versus Carlos Felipe, which was good, but you know, Yorgan De Castro versus Carlos Felipe. This is a good co-main event. Edson Barboza versus Makwan Amirkhani. I have problems picking Makwan Amirkhani. He's a dangerous guy. People that say that he's bad, I don't get your brains. I don't understand the way that your brains work, because Makwan Amirkhani is very good. Fought to a split decision with Arnold Allen. That happened, okay? Arnold Allen won the fight, but that happened. He went to a split decision with a guy who's 7-0 right now in the featherweight division, okay? Makwan Amirkhani also controlled Shane Burgos on the ground reasonably in the first round of their fight. Shane Burgos, of course, came back to get the job done, but Makwan Amirkhani has got good ground game. I just don't think he has... Here's where he's good. He's good at getting guys down, and he's good at sitting in their guard. But when it comes to passing that guard and entering himself into a position to get the finish, or a position to score more points and maybe get some ground and pound, he always gives it up a little bit. And he can't seem to get control as he passes in the middle of a fight. And against Edson Barboza, for the past 5 years, I can only imagine what's going on in Barboza's gym. In all honesty, I can only imagine what's going on in Barboza's gym. Please let me kick pads. No! Takedown defense. Oh, come on. Couple kicks on the pads, please. And then no! Bring in the Dagestanis. No, please, no. No, let me kick pads, please. No! Bring in the Dagestanis. We need more takedown defense. Oh, he must have good takedown defense by now. I can only imagine what his game plans have been for the past fucking 5 years. I think he'll get the job done against Makwan Amirkhani. Listen, if you can keep getting up against Khabib, a lot of people don't give him credit for that, but he kept getting back up. He did. And Khabib's a strong 155er. And Barboza kept getting back up. Like, he tried. I know Khabib had him down and was landing some good shots, but Barboza was in it. He never gave up, like, full mount too many times where Khabib was just looking to fucking destroy him. He never really gave up any limbs for a submission or anything like that. Like, he knows how to not get finished in the grappling situations. And I think if he knows how to not get finished, eventually Makwan Amirkhani, who naturally has a bad gas tank anyway, especially now on short notice, is not going to be able to get the same results in the second and third round that he did in the first in the grappling. I think Makwan Amirkhani is going to go out there, hold Barboza against the cage, get a couple technical takedowns in the first round. In the second and third, Barboza's going to start taking him apart, landing some body kicks. He'll land some kicks in the first round. Body kicks are going to be huge here because he knows he wants to drain the gas tank of Amirkhani. But credit to Amirkhani, stepping in on short notice, co-main event of Fight Island against a savage in Barboza who did beat Dan Ige. Let's be real. I'm going to go with Edson Barboza getting the job done. I'll say body kick finish, late second round. Moving on up the card, Marlon Moraes versus Corey Sandhagen. I'm going to go with Corey Sandhagen. I think he'll get the job done. Just style-wise, I don't like this for Marlon Moraes. I really don't. Marlon Moraes is a very good fighter. 5-rounders are not his friend, and I don't know why he keeps accepting main events. I know he thinks he can go out there and KO people early. Dude, Marlon Moraes should be taking main card fights on pay-per-views. He'd win the majority of them. By far. Like, in a 3-rounder, I don't know who really beats Marlon Moraes. A lot of people say Aldo beat him. He beat Aldo. Shut the fuck up. He outstruck him in rounds 1 and 3, clearly, and took him down at the end of round 1 as well. I don't understand the narrative that Aldo beat him. I'll never understand it. But then again, people think that Holloway beat Volkanovski in a rematch, even though he clearly lost 3 rounds to 2. So I'll never understand anything. But Marlon Moraes is a savage. In a 3-rounder, in a 5-rounder, things change. Because I said this before, it doesn't matter how good he's doing in the first 2. When you're at the end of the 2nd round, and you've got 1 round left, you can get through it. When you're at the end of the 2nd round, and Sandhagen's walking you down a bit, and you've used a lot of shots, and Sandhagen isn't out cold yet, and you know you've got 3 more rounds to come, the mindset changes. You don't have just 1 more round until you win the fight and get your title shot. You got 3 more. And I think as the fight goes on, you're going to start to see Marlon Moraes start to lag behind. The leg kicks are good. And I think the leg kicks could be effective. But the one way I think that Sandhagen can counter this, he's a long-rangey guy. He stays on the outside. He switches stances a lot as well. And he has a good reach advantage here. A great height advantage. So the leg reach is going to be huge here. Throwing a bunch of kicks, which is going to offset Marlon Moraes' kicks anyway. His leg kicks. And I think he'll do well. Good front kicks. Good jabs. Switching stances as well. Every time he gets leg kicked, he can fight from both stances. He's got good scrambles as well. So don't be surprised if in the 3rd or 4th, he starts to go for some scrambling like situations and tries to grapple with Moraes once he gets a bit tired. That's what Henry Cejudo tried to do, and it seemed to work out for him. I'm going to go with Corey Sandhagen winning himself a TKO finish via ground and pound in the 4th round. I think he'll survive the 3rd with Marlon Moraes. The 1st round's going to be trouble for Sandhagen, but it's going to be a bunch of nothing. Moraes might land a few leg kicks. Sandhagen will switch stances, start circling around, come forward. Eventually, at the end of the 2nd, you're going to see a start of a change. Sandhagen's going to start landing a few more shots. Those front kicks to the body are going to not be so nice. And I think in the 3rd round, it'll be very obvious that Sandhagen's going to win. And in the 4th round, it'll just be how it is. And it'll be Corey Sandhagen and getting it done against Marlon Moraes. But if Marlon Moraes comes out there and wins especially in the later rounds, he's a problem in that division. Even for Yan. If Marlon Moraes can figure out his cardio problem, he's a problem for everyone. But he hasn't done that yet. And he's been shown that problem a lot of times, and he keeps running into it. Which makes me believe that he can't fix that problem. And that's a big deal, because when you see a guy where he's been shown his weakness, and he still continues to show that same weakness, in a thing like cardio, fair play to Barboza, you get shown a weakness in wrestling, it's hard to make up that ground. But cardio is something you can make up in the next fight camp. You can change some things, you can implement more cardio. I think he's just too fast twitch, and Sandhagen throws a lot of feints, and I think he's going to draw a lot of energy out of Moraes in the 1st round, and then eventually take over in the later ones. Sandhagen gets the job done, 4th round TKO. Thank you for watching the video. I think I've done well on the predictions there. It's a great card, man. It's a really good card, so I'm liking it. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button there, and goodbye. Toodle pip.